Hello, watch enthusiasts, and welcome to our channel. This will be the first and hopefully many videos that Mead Watchworks puts out to try to help you learn how to mod your own watch. Today, we will be taking a look at the NH36 Seiko movement, and we will be removing and replacing the date ring. First, we're going to go over some of the tools that you're going to need to remove and replace the date ring. The first is the magnification that I use so I can see the watch movement better. The second is a pair of number 5 titanium tweezers. I like the titanium because they feel nice in my hand and they're very light. You're also going to need a screwdriver that fits any screws in the movement that you're using, a movement holder. In this video, I'm going to use a Seiko specific movement holder that looks like this. Some place to put your parts because you don't want them rolling all over the place. A nice pad to put down. Some Rodico. It helps lift those hard to lift parts like the date ring. An air poofer. I'm not really sure what this is called, but I use it to make sure that there's no dust and debris in the movement. And the finger cots. They're very important because you don't want to get the oil from your fingers all over the movement. Next, you want to make sure your workspace is very clean. I have two large dogs, so I clean a lot. In this one, for this, I'm just using regular detergent and wiping it down with a microfiber cloth, trying to get any oil residue off of the mat before I start. After I finish wiping off all the residue, I will use the air blower to blow any additional dust or dirt or hairs or anything that you might have on your mat away. Now that your workspace is clean, we'll put the movement holder down, we'll place the movement, and we'll get ready to get started. First, I'm going to test the movement to check out the function to make sure it works correctly. Then we are going to use the smallest screwdriver we have to remove the retaining ring that holds down the day. You just got to get it underneath and give it a little twist and it'll pop up. Once we get that removed, I'm going to put that into my parts dish to make sure it doesn't get lost. Then I'm going to use a little Rodico to move the actual day wheel. There are 4 screws that hold the date wheels retaining plate. We're going to go ahead and remove them. I try to remove these one screw at a time because sometimes this can be under tension, and when you pull the last one out, the whole plate pops up and spills your screws everywhere. This is the wheel that actually moves the day wheel So I'm going to remove that so it doesn't get lost. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the other 3 screws. I decided to change screwdrivers there because the other one was too small. It's really important that you get the right size screwdriver. If you don't get the right size screwdriver, then your screwdriver will slip out of the head of the screw and scratch your movement up. So I'm leaving 1 screw in there. I'm taking the other 2 screws out, and then I will go to the last screw just so that in case it pops up, it won't lose all my screws. These screws are incredibly small. With the last screw out, we're going to use a bit of Rodico to pick the plate up, being careful not to pull up anything else with it. That plate is the only thing that holds the date ring in. So you can use a little Rodico to pull the date ring out, being careful not to move anything else. If you move anything else, then you have to put it back. And we're going to grab the date ring and put it back in. Make sure it's in the right spot. Then we're going to use the tweezers to push the spring out of the way. There's a little spring that keeps the date in the right place. We're going to move that out of the way and get it and make sure the date ring is sitting correctly. Once that's out of the way, then we're going to put the retention plate back on. Now, when I put this retention plate back on, you'll see that I'll put the screws in, but I won't tighten them all down. And doing this under the camera is much more difficult than just doing it at your workbench. So I'll start with 1 screw. Typically, I try to put them on the mat before because it's easier to pick them up. As you can see, they have a tendency to jump all over the place. So I'll try to flip it over and get it into a good position so that when I'm ready, I can get it right in the hole. Sometimes it's not the easiest. And you'll see here, I will not screw this down all the way. I'll get the next 3 screws and I'll put them in my work area so they're easy to get to. I just started using these titanium tweezers, these number 5 titanium tweezers. I really like them. They're very light, but they also seem to be a little more textured. So it helps me be able to pick up the little screws and keep them from slipping out of the tweezers. Going to check, make sure the plate is straight before I go in with the screw. I also work on a lot of Seiko movements, and I like this Seiko movement holder. I feel like it retains the movement better than a regular movement holder. I would speed this up for you, but this is the first time editing a video, and I'm not very good at it. So we'll eventually get these screws in there. And sometimes it takes a while. The first time you pick up a screwdriver and you start working on a watch movement, it can be a little daunting. Every piece in there is super small, and they don't, and the screws fly all over the place, and it is somewhat discouraging. So the best thing I can say is try to be patient. We all lose screws. It wouldn't be the first time that I had to get on the floor on my hands and knees and find a screw that went shooting across my workroom. Once I get all the screws in there, I like to go back, make sure they were all tight, make sure everything looks like it works. I will test the movement here to make sure the day ring or the date ring works. And then we'll go to putting in the actual day ring. So there's the day ring, there's the gear. This gear has to go in a specific way. And there's the retention clip. It's good to take pictures of your movements when you're taking parts out of them so you know where they go back and you know what direction they go back. Once you get that in, you can pick up the day ring. It doesn't really matter how this goes in there, uh, in what direction it goes in. Then you put the retention clip on top. Now I'm just going to use the tweezers to push down on the top of the retention clip and snap it into place. Now that that's snapped into place, you're all finished. I'm going to test it one more time to make sure the day ring is working and the date ring is working, with both of them working okay. This is finished.